The Byzantine Empire, a real historical overview. The Byzantine Empire, also known as the Eastern Roman Empire, was one of the longest-lasting empires in history, existing for over 1,000 years from the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century until the fall of Constantinople in 1453. It stood as a powerful Christian state centered in Constantinople, which is modern-day Istanbul. The Byzantines considered themselves Romans and saw their empire as the continuation of the Roman Empire. Origins and foundation. The roots of the Byzantine Empire began in the later centuries of the Roman Empire. In 330 AD, Emperor Constantine the Great moved the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to Byzantium, a city strategically located between Europe and Asia. He renamed it Constantinople. This decision created a cultural and political shift. While the Western Roman Empire gradually weakened and collapsed in 476 AD due to invasions and internal decay, the Eastern Roman Empire remained strong and evolved into what we call the Byzantine Empire. The Eastern Empire had advantages that helped its survival. It had richer lands, stronger urban centers, and more developed trade networks. The Eastern emperors also had better control over their armies and bureaucracies. Justinian the Great and the Golden Age. One of the most famous Byzantine emperors was Justinian I, who ruled from 527 to 565. Under his leadership, the empire reached its greatest territorial extent. Justinian dreamed of restoring the old Roman Empire. His general Belisarius successfully reconquered parts of North Africa, Italy, and Spain. Justinian also undertook massive building projects. His most famous architectural achievement was the Hagia Sophia, a grand cathedral in Constantinople that stood as the world's largest church for centuries. Justinian is also remembered for the codification of Roman law. His legal reforms resulted in the Corpus Juris Civilis, or body of civil law, which influenced European legal systems for centuries. However, Justinian's rule was not without problems. The empire faced major challenges, including the devastating plague of Justinian, which killed millions and weakened the economy. His military campaigns also drained the treasury. Religious controversies and schisms. Religion played a central role in Byzantine politics and life. The empire was a deeply Christian society, but theological disputes often caused conflict. The most famous dispute was over the nature of Christ, which led to divisions between different Christian sects. One of the most significant religious events was the Great Schism of 1054. This marked the official split between the Eastern Orthodox Church, led by the Patriarch of Constantinople, and the Roman Catholic Church, led by the Pope in Rome. The split was caused by disputes over doctrine, authority, and practices such as the use of leavened or unleavened bread in communion. Military challenges and the theme system. The Byzantine Empire constantly faced threats from different sides. From the north came Slavs and Bulgars. From the east came Persians, Arabs, and later the Turks. To deal with these threats, the Byzantines developed the theme system, a military and administrative strategy where land was given to soldiers in exchange for military service. This helped maintain a strong defense without relying entirely on mercenaries. The empire also relied on diplomacy, alliances, and strategic marriages to manage enemies. Byzantine diplomats were famous for their skill, and the empire often used religion and money as tools of influence. Cultural and intellectual legacy. Byzantium was a center of culture and learning. Its scholars preserved and copied many ancient Greek and Roman texts, which later helped spark the Renaissance in Western Europe. The empire made advances in theology, art, architecture, and literature. Byzantine art was known for its icons, mosaics, and religious paintings. These artworks followed strict traditions and were meant to inspire reverence. Iconoclasm, a movement in the 8th and 9th centuries that opposed the use of religious images, caused major internal conflict until the veneration of icons was restored. The Byzantine Empire was also a bridge between East and West, influencing Islamic and Slavic cultures. The Cyrillic alphabet used by many Slavic languages today was developed by Byzantine missionaries Cyril and Methodius. The rise of Islam and the Arab threat. In the 7th century, a major new threat emerged with the rise of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. The Arab armies under the banner of Islam quickly expanded and captured vast territories from the Byzantine Empire. Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and North Africa were all lost during the early Islamic conquests. The Byzantines were caught off guard. These losses were a huge blow to the empire, not only territorially but also economically and spiritually. Egypt was a breadbasket for the empire, and the loss of Jerusalem was particularly painful for a Christian state. To resist further invasions, the Byzantines fortified their cities, especially Constantinople. They also developed a powerful weapon known as Greek fire, a flammable liquid that could burn on water and was used to destroy enemy ships. Greek fire became a key tool in naval defense. The Macedonian Renaissance. In the 9th and 10th centuries, the empire entered a period of revival known as the Macedonian Renaissance. This era saw the restoration of territory, increased military strength, and cultural flourishing. The Macedonian dynasty began with Basilai, who took power in 867. Under his successors, especially Leo VI and Constantine VII, the empire strengthened its administration and economy. The empire expanded into the Balkans and even pushed back against Arab forces, regaining control of parts of the eastern frontier. The army was reorganized and the theme system was improved. This was a time of stability and prosperity for the Byzantines. During this period, the empire also converted the Slavs to Christianity. Missionaries such as Cyril and Methodius brought the Orthodox faith to what is now Russia, Ukraine, and the Balkans. This helped spread Byzantine influence and created cultural ties that lasted centuries. The arrival of the Seljuk Turks and the Battle of Manzikert. Despite the success of the Macedonian era, new threats soon appeared. The most dangerous were the Seljuk Turks, a powerful Muslim group from Central Asia. In 1071, the Byzantine army suffered a catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Manzikert in eastern Anatolia. Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes was captured and the Byzantine position in Asia Minor collapsed. This defeat opened the door for Turkish tribes to settle in Anatolia, which had been the heartland of the empire. The loss of these lands greatly weakened the Byzantines and led to internal chaos. The empire fell into civil war and rival generals fought for control. The Crusades and the Fourth Crusade. In the late 11th century, the Byzantine Emperor Alexios I Komnenos appealed to the West for military aid against the Turks. This led to the First Crusade, which helped recover some lands but also created tensions between Byzantium and the Latin West. Relations between the Orthodox and Catholic worlds continued to deteriorate. The worst blow came during the Fourth Crusade in 1204, when Western European crusaders, instead of fighting Muslims, attacked and sacked Constantinople. The city was looted, churches desecrated, and many priceless treasures destroyed or stolen. After the sack, the Latin Empire was established in Constantinople and the Byzantines fled to regional centers such as Nicaea, Epirus, and Trebizond. This period of exile lasted until 1261, when Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured Constantinople and restored the Byzantine Empire. The Palaiologan dynasty and decline. Though the Byzantines regained their capital, the empire never returned to its former strength. The restored empire was smaller, weaker, and surrounded by rising powers. The Palaiologan dynasty ruled from 1261 to 1453 and faced constant internal and external struggles. Economically, the empire declined due to lost trade routes and the growing power of Italian merchant cities like Venice and Genoa. The Byzantines often had to rely on these cities for naval support, which gave the Italians great influence over Constantinople's commerce. Militarily, the empire could no longer defend its borders effectively. The Ottoman Turks now emerged as the greatest threat. They slowly conquered former Byzantine lands in Asia Minor and the Balkans. The rise of the Ottoman Turks. By the 14th century, the Ottoman Turks had become the dominant power in the eastern Mediterranean. They captured key Byzantine cities in Anatolia and expanded rapidly across the Balkans. The Byzantines attempted to resist through diplomacy and appeals to Western Europe, but little meaningful help arrived. The empire became a shadow of its former self. By the early 1400s, the Byzantines controlled little more than Constantinople and a few scattered territories. The rest of the former empire was either absorbed by the Ottomans or ruled by semi-independent local lords. Despite their weakness, the Byzantines managed to hold on for several more decades thanks to strong walls in Constantinople and political maneuvering. However, time was running out. The fall of Constantinople. The final chapter came in 1453. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II launched a massive siege of Constantinople. His army was far larger and better equipped than the defenders. The Byzantines were led by Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, who fought bravely despite having few troops and little hope of victory. The city's defenses were strong, especially its massive Theodosian walls, but the Ottomans brought heavy artillery, including huge cannons that slowly broke through the walls. After weeks of intense fighting and bombardment, the Ottomans launched a final assault on May 29, 1453. The walls were breached and the city was overrun. Emperor Constantine XI reportedly died fighting in the streets, refusing to flee. The Ottomans took the city and renamed it Istanbul. The Hagia Sophia was converted into a mosque and the city became the capital of the Ottoman Empire. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the final chapter of the Roman world, which had begun over 1,500 years earlier. Legacy of the Byzantine Empire. Though the empire fell, its influence lived on. The Byzantine Empire preserved Greek, Roman, and Christian traditions during a time when Western Europe was often in turmoil. It passed on classical knowledge, theology, and legal principles to the Islamic world and later to Renaissance Europe. The Orthodox Church remained strong, especially in Russia, which saw itself as the heir to Byzantium. The Russian Tsars adopted the title of Caesar, and the term Third Rome was used to describe Moscow. Byzantine art, architecture, and literature also left a lasting mark. The domes, mosaics, and icons of the Orthodox world were inspired by Byzantine designs. The preservation of ancient Greek texts by Byzantine scholars helped fuel the rediscovery of classical philosophy and science in the West. Conclusion. The Byzantine Empire was one of the most remarkable civilizations in history. For over 1,000 years it stood as a bridge between East and West, preserving ancient wisdom while developing its own unique Christian culture. It faced endless invasions and internal struggles, yet endured through diplomacy, faith, and resilience. Its fall was a turning point in world history, marking the rise of the Ottoman Empire and the end of medieval Christendom in the East. But its memory lives on in churches, cathedrals, manuscripts, and traditions across Europe and the Orthodox world. The Byzantines called themselves Romans, but they became something more. They were guardians of civilization in a dark age, and their legacy continues to shape our world today.